Government issues orders to go after leadership of all major 1%er clubs. DOJ will target major motorcycle clubs with RICO to seize patches and trademarks of Hells Angels, Mongols, Bandidos and others. By James Hollywood Mascari of Insane Throttle Biker News. The Trump administration issued orders to Attorney General William H. Barr to target major 1%er motorcycle gangs in an effort to seize trademarks and patches used by the clubs. The Trump administration alleges that these motorcycle gangs have participated in crimes such as murder, extortion, racketeering and a host of other organized crime. I am directing the Attorney General to use whatever laws and the full weight of the United States government to target the leadership of these so-called 1%er motorcycle gangs. Until recently, the Trump administration has been heavily engaged in taking down the street gang MS-13. A gang that the Trump administration is made up of mostly illegal criminal aliens. The pivot to focusing on motorcycle gangs, also referred to as 1%er motorcycle clubs, which consist of the so-called Big Five, is now a top priority. The Big Five include the notorious Hells Angels, the Mongols Motorcycle Club, which had been battling a government trial in which they were the test case in the trademark seizure. Other clubs include the Bandidos Motorcycle Club and Outlaws Motorcycle Club. Also targeted in the operation will be their so-called support clubs, in which authorities contend participate in illegal activities. The operation is called Operation Rumble. The name apparently comes from the sound of a motorcycle engine. RICO, or Racketeering Corruption Organization Act, will be the primary basis on which the government will target the infamous motorcycle gangs. RICO has been used to prosecute organized crime figures such as the 5 notable mafia families in New York City. As you hopefully guessed by now, this article is a parody. My question is, how would you feel as a motorcycle club member waking up to a story like this? Better yet, how would motorcycle club supporters as well as independent bikers feel about it? Some of the above isn't all that far-fetched. The Mongols Motorcycle Club's patch case is in the appeals process. The government already won a RICO conviction against the entire club and is collecting a huge fine against them. So, what's the point of this parody? It's simple. If clubs cannot find a way to peace, then the above parody could really come true. I've talked about it many times in the content I put out, about how technology is something clubs can no longer ignore. Technology is aiding the government in taking down motorcycle clubs it considers motorcycle gangs. For instance, social media has been the biggest aid to the government. Detectives don't even have to leave the office to collect intelligence anymore. All they have to do is click a few buttons and they get all the information they need. I always scratched my head going through Facebook and seeing members of motorcycle clubs sporting their colors. At least make these government idiots work for the intelligence. With the information they see on a club member's profile, they can get the club affiliation as well as a friends list, again, without even having to leave the office. What do most people call it? Oh yeah, dry snitching, and members don't even realize they are doing it by having and using their accounts to show club affiliations on social media. Now, I do know some clubs have a prohibition on members showing club affiliation on social media. But many don't have that prohibition. Some will say the famous, "fuck the government." To them I say, you don't have enough money in the world to fight the United States government. 98% is their conviction rate. Basically, if the feds come knocking on the door, and drag your ass to court, you have no choice but to get the best deal. The government is now, more than ever, more vigilant in going after members of motorcycle clubs. Texas, for example, has increased their attacks on MCs with roadblocks, profiling, and arrests for displaying colors in public. They are openly charging members with firearms violations. Mind you, these members have a legal concealed carry permit. But the police are using vague laws to enable them to take down club members they see as gangs down. My question is, where is all the protesting? Sure, we see a protest here and there, but how many bikers show up to the protest? Hardly any of them, especially the clubs that are on the government's radar. It's a sad day when bikers who are supposed to stick together cannot even come together and protest motorcycle profiling. It's not just club members being profiled, mind you, it's all different kinds of bikers being profiled. So yes, your ass could be in a jam one of these days. Many people have heard of the bikie laws in Australia. Some of those exact laws, in spirit, are being used by law enforcement in Texas right now. That is the scariest things that should have not just bikers up in arms, but all American citizens. Problem is the message of what these types of laws are doing to law-abiding citizens is not getting out. The message is only heard by a few. Why? Because the biker community is doing a piss-poor job in the propaganda war. What I mean is bikers are doing a shitty job. Sure, we have many motorcycle rights organizations out there fighting for bikers' rights. With that said, I only see a one-sided tunnel vision path towards addressing the problem. A problem like motorcycle profiling or biker rights needs a multi-pronged approach. First, you need to reach the hearts and minds of the actual people that put these lawmakers in office. If those who followed the Waco tragedy, involving District Attorney Abel Reyna, could know an organized effort could lead to change, they could band together to force this change. Reyna lost his bid for re-election by an enormous 20 points. This is because bikers and citizens worked hand in hand. Biker were going out on the air making sure to expose the corruption of District Attorney Abel Reyna. That's the key word, isn't it? Going on the air and speaking to the press. Yeah, I know, clubs don't like talking to the press. Well, clubs are setting themselves up for failure for not using the press to get their side of the story out. The only way you will reach those citizens who are active in the voting process is to get out there and talk to the press. Get in their living rooms and tell them what their government is doing to you. Do you want to know how an effective media strategy is? Just take a look at 1938 Germany and its propaganda machine. The use of media and propaganda turned millions of people on their fellow countrymen. Take it a step further. Today the United States is more divided than ever. Why? Because each network has its political lean. They are professionals in putting out propaganda. Unfortunately, so is law enforcement. Law enforcement has been able to use their side of a story in the press with devastating effects on motorcycle clubs. They are the ones getting into the living rooms of voters while the clubs sit on their peckers wondering why profiling is happening to them. They are also left wondering why the hell another so-called biker would be supporting law enforcement efforts in the profiling scheme. The one reason that I can give, from the feedback I receive, is that many feel like the old ways and traditions don't work anymore. They see motorcycle clubs crying about constitutional rights when they themselves deny that to others. Sorry fellas, it just isn't relevant anymore to do things such as telling others if they can or cannot have a club. You're losing a ton of support from the biker community because of that. Support that clubs need in order to help get the word out about law enforcement practices. Instead of an ally that is much needed in the fight, you're driving them right into the arms of Leo. Another approach to the problem of motorcycle club profiling is the need for clubs to police themselves. It's the Rouge members that are causing the problems for the club. Everyone knows that not every single member is doing illegal acts. But the citizens see it that way when news comes out that this guy or that guy is a member of the club. Clubs will increasingly have two choices. They can either get rid of the baggage or face an increasingly hostile police force, enabled by those citizens that vote. Again, if citizens do not know the club's side of the story, how do you expect them to react? Back to the article headline. It's a very real possibility that scenario could happen in the near future. We already know the government's test case with the Mongols. Remember, they have all the money and resources they need. They don't care if it takes 20 years to take a club down. They will persist in their mission long after some of today's members are gone. The old saying "stop playing checkers while the opponent plays chess" is very much true here. Law enforcement is years and years ahead of motorcycle clubs. Motorcycle clubs are playing the 70s and 80s ball games while cops are playing 2019. Get smart. Start playing their game in the present. Evolve and adjust to the times. If clubs don't, I fear that in a few years it will get worse and worse. If it does, it will be square on the shoulders of the motorcycle clubs themselves. Clubs had a chance to reorganize and instead decided to keep old habits. That is not what's going to win against the problem of motorcycle club profiling. Get rid of the beef for one. Clubs fighting each other is what they want. Not only does it pad their budgets, but also helps their propaganda war. Clubs are handing motorcycle profiling on a silver platter to the cops. When violence happens and it's in the news, people get sick to their stomachs. That reaction leads normal everyday citizens to encourage police to get rid of the violence. Which of course gives law enforcement a black and gray situation where they can just make shit up on someone. Oh, by the way, do you see the ACLU or other civil rights organization getting involved in motorcycle profiling? Hell no, because they don't want to go support a club who is continuously in the headlines for extreme crimes. It's really all common sense if you think about it. Anyways, hopefully this opinion piece has whoever is reading it thinking. Motorcycle profiling is real. Getting the support from the entire biking community and civilians will help end it. That means that clubs have to do their part and start evolving with the times. Look at the long game instead of the short game. This is a fight worth fighting not only for bikers, but for every citizen who enjoys their rights and freedoms. Leave your comment and let me know what you think about this subject. Only when a debate starts happening can the biker community win this fight.
Off. Off. Turn it off.